Hi everybody, thanks for joining us for another Facebook Live event this Thursday morning. I'm Jessica Carrier with the Joe Davis Conservation Foundation, and this morning we are at Proving Grounds Recreation Area in Dubuque County. Today with us we have Caitlin Moeller, the county naturalist for Dubuque County, and she's going to tell us a little bit about the outdoor recreation opportunities in Dubuque County. If at any point you have questions, feel free to type them in, and then Caitlin and I will answer your questions. So Caitlin, you want to tell us a little bit about Dubuque County?
Yeah, so really quick here, I just want to show you what's going on behind us. So this is the Proving Grounds Recreation Area, and what this is behind us, it's a single track mountain bike trail. So what single track mountain bike trail means is it's a trail that's generally like 12 to 18 inches wide, and it was a trail that was constructed by a very specific mountain bike contractor. So we have this group in Dubuque called Timber. It's Tri-State Mountain Bike Riders. They're a group that pooled together a bunch of local money, and they funded the construction of most of this trail. Some of it came from county funding as well, but what they basically came through and did is they looked at the landscape and they tried to figure out the best way that they could manage the water that drained off of it. So they tried to build them in a specific way to not increase erosion, but to basically manage the flow of water and also create these really cool features. So this one behind us is something fun. The mountain bike rider can come along the corner and hit that huge berm and then come right up here and ramp up and go to the next feature. So at this specific park, we have 6.5 miles of single track mountain bike trails, and they all range in complexity. You do have to get up a really steep hill to get to this fun place to play, but we have some that are a little bit more beginner friendly and some that are a little bit more difficult, I would say, but they are really fun and engaging. If you have somebody that may be interested in mountain biking, there's several mountain bike stores in Dubuque here that can maybe fit you up with a bike and let you come out and try it. So we also have some events every so often that we partner with a mountain bike team, and you can come out and try it too. But it's really cool. The area to find the maps for this specific park are trailfork.com. Since that Timber group is the ones to manage it, they are the ones to say if the trails are open today or closed today. On occasion, not lately, but we get a lot of rain, and sometimes when that occurs, the trails get a little bit tacky. We don't want to damage them, so it's a good idea to check trail conditions before heading out. So, should I talk a little bit about Dubuque County Conservation in general?
Yeah, kind of
all right.
The opportunities available.
So, if I can give you guys a quick recap on what Dubuque County Conservation is. So, we are technically a county entity. So, what that means is there's funding dollars that go into the county fund, like the county health department, the county roads department. Well, a portion of it comes to the county conservation department. So the county conservation department, we manage about 2,500 acres of property. In that 2,500 acres, we have 20 parks. Some of them are parks, some of them are preserves, some of them are recreation areas like this. We manage a lot of different stuff and try to provide opportunities for citizens to get out into the outdoors. What's kind of cool about the county setup is there's 99 counties in Iowa, and every single county has a conservation board like this one. They all range in different sizes and different focus areas, but they all have somebody that's basically working on preserving the land and providing opportunities like this.
Cool, great. And so I understand Proving Grounds just opened last year?
Yep.
Can you tell us about the history of Proving Grounds and how that happened?
Yeah, so it's pretty unique actually. So John Deere is one of the largest employers in Dubuque. It's just right over there. They had this property and they used it to prove the value of their equipment. So basically what that means is they had one of the coolest jobs ever. There was people who built tractors and different forestry machinery over there, and they brought it to this property to wreck it. So they tried to figure out what the limits are on that particular piece of equipment. So can I lift this big log? Can I scrape this large amount of dirt? Can I hang out on this really steep slope without tipping over? They tried to prove what they needed their equipment to do and break it essentially to see what they needed to do to make it bigger and better and stronger. So then they came forth, and when they were done with this property, just because they had an airstrip on top where they would land little planes, and it wasn't big enough for the scale that they're growing, they bought another property down the road that's now their new proving grounds. They decided to donate this one to Dubuque County Conservation. So they are really instrumental in this property because if you come here, all of the trails are named either after John Deere equipment or specific techniques that you can do with the equipment. So like there's a dozer drive and an excavator loop and a rip curl, which apparently is some sort of construction lingo. So there's all sorts of cool names. We are working on further developing this park. since it's a recreation area, it's literally designated to provide different recreational pursuits. So as you can see, the mountain bike trail is what started so far, but we are going to be working quick on a disc golf course in this area. We have a really nice pavilion down at the bottom. We planted a big prairie. We're also going to have a couple of overlooks that we're going to clear out, so you'll be able to view the whole Mississippi and the John Deere plant and then the Cooler Valley area on the other side. So we're working on things like that and adding interpretive panels as we go. So you'll see it further develop, but we've just gotten started. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Cool. And how about, so here we have a lot of mountain biking and hiking. How about other recreational opportunities throughout the county? You mentioned kayaking earlier.
Right,
Can you
yep.
name some of those?
Yeah, so kayaking is growing in popularity. Kayaking is extremely popular. Iowa, fun fact for you, Iowa has, out of all 50 states, we have the third most navigable river miles. So we have a ton of water.
Wow.
Kind of because we're bordered by two of the biggest rivers, but don't tell anyone. Anyway, we have a lot of river miles that you can come and check out here. Dubuque has some of them that are still in the midst of developing further. We're working on making some real water trails and kayak accesses, but you can still use them. Some of the ones that the staff uses the most often is the mighty Mississippi between us. So we go often from like all the way up by Finley's Landing, which is a county park. You can float all the way through there, go through the lock and dams, and you can get out at Massey Marina Park, which is another park we manage. Both of those have great river accesses. It is quite the jaunt. There's access points you can get out along the way, but it's a really pretty float. And most people, when they think of paddling the Mississippi, they're terrified. They're like, oh, there's big barges, that's going to be too scary. Yes and no. There are barges. Sometimes they can get some cool waves, but if you go during the week when it's not interfering with much boater traffic and you kind of stick to the side of the channel, you'll be totally fine. There's not a lot of current in an area that maybe there's not a lot of like strainers or anything that you have to avoid, which you would on some of our other rivers. Some of our other ones are the North Fork of the Little Maquoketa, and that's actually, it runs right along the Heritage Trail, which is another really cool park that we manage. So that one is a little shallower and a little bit more of a challenge per se, meaning there's some more strainers, which are a bunch of logs that could be in the river, or it might be rockier. You can still do it. It's a fun river. It's just one that I wouldn't say is maybe beginner friendly, especially now when we really need rain. Yeah. It's a little shallow. But the cool thing that you can do there, which if I can share it for a second, we have this thing called a pedaling and paddling excursion, which basically means if you're limited and you only have one vehicle that day, it's not a big deal because you can use the Heritage Trail to basically help you shuttle. So you can throw a bike on your car, throw a kayak on your car, and you're going to be pedaling and paddling right next to each other. So you can exchange your gear all with one vehicle if you have a bike to get back to the beginning.
Very good.
So that's a pretty fun one. We also have a new one called Lido Creek, which is in the southern part of the county by Bernard, closer to Jackson County. That one is really cool. It's a very scenic river. It's got huge bluffy rocks along the whole way, neat limestone outcroppings, really cool views of like a cooler setting of a forest. So we have that one, and it goes under a bridge, which is a bowstring bridge. There's only 3 left in the state of Iowa. It's really cool looking. Then we also have Whitewater Creek. Whitewater Creek goes through our famous area called Whitewater Canyon. So it's like 150 feet of straight sheer bluff limestone rock that you'll check out. That one is also really cool. So if you're ever looking for places to go or river mileage, or if you think it's beginner friendly or not, if you email or call us at the Nature Center, Swiss Valley, if you just give us a call, we can email you a ton of different maps and suggestions on specific routes if you're looking for specific details. Like, hey, I just want to have fun with my kids, or hey, I want to see some really cool sights. We've got all that information, and we frequently go out, so we can usually provide you with the most recent conditions of most of those rivers.
And what would that email address be?
So Swiss Valley NC, so NC is like Nature Center, so swissvalleync@gmail.com.
Okay.
If you email that general email, it eventually gets to one of us, and we'll be able to provide you with those details. Or you can just give us a call at the Nature Center, and then we can provide you with more details through that too.
Cool. So and
Yeah.
we can always put that up on our Facebook also when we go to post this video. One thing I thought of when you were talking about Swiss Valley is I know a lot of folks go there for trout fishing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Swiss Valley is actually the third best trout stream in the entire state of Iowa.
Ooh.
So basically it's because the watershed that surrounds it is us. It's Swiss Valley. So it's really cool landscapes like this. So you don't have to worry about maybe runoff or oil or something like that getting into the creek because it's all surrounded by woodlands. So our creek has really good water quality, which means it's really cold and it's really clear. So there's higher oxygen temperatures and it's a colder creek in general. So we have trout in there, and we also do a ton of work on habitat. So we add a lot of like bank hides, which essentially looks like a coffin with holes in the side. So basically the fish can swim in and hide from like an eagle or a great blue heron, and then when the animal passes they can swim back out. So we have those on the side of our river. We have big root balls that we buried on the side of our river, providing really cool structure for the fish to go in.
Okay.
So
you guys actually put habitat in there
yeah.
for the trout.
Yep, every single year we're adding to it. So most of Iowa's rivers and creeks have been channelized in some setting, which makes them like super deep, and they're not really good. They don't have a lot of structure to them. So we're peeling back those banks and basically repairing them, making them have a shallower slope and providing cool structures. You don't need to be a fly fisherman to go to these areas. Most people think like, oh, I need to figure out how to do that crazy fly fishing thing. You don't. There is a really cool club called the Dubuque Fly Fishing Club if you want to, but if you go with a straight up bobber and a worm, you're gonna catch a fish. The DNR stocks fish in there every other week. They go, they're from the Manchester Fish Hatchery if you've ever been there, and they bring brown trout and rainbow trout. They bring them into the creek and they dump them in.
Every other week?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're not announced anymore. They used to tell people when they were going, but with COVID restrictions, they don't want large populations to gather next to the creek.
Makes sense, yeah.
So it makes a little bit of the hunt of fishing a little bit more fun, in my opinion, anyway. But yeah, you can go anywhere along the preserve there. We have over 10 miles of stream that go right through the preserve, and there's fishing accesses that we mow so that you can get even a little bit closer without bushwhacking through some tall weeds. So you can check out any of the fishing there, as well as Swiss Valley Park. So it's a little confusing, but we have the Swiss Valley Nature Center, a little bit of highway road you'd have to travel, and then we have the Swiss Valley Park. Both of those have that Catfish Creek running through it, so both of them have a really good amount of fishing access. I can also talk about the Bankston Wildlife Area. It's kind of similar to Swiss Valley, but if you're looking for a little bit more remote of a setting, but still want to be trout fishing, that area is awesome. I love that park, and it's just like Swiss Valley for the trout streams, except you don't have the big populations.
And this is
not
Bankston.
many people know of it. Yep, it's just called Bankston Park. If you Google it, it'll pop up. It's got some hiking trails, but it's mainly a hunting and fishing area. And like I said, it's a little further from Dubuque, and not as many people know of it, but it still has a really strong trout population.
Cool. So I get the feeling that you really enjoy this job.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us, do you have a favorite part of your job working here?
Yeah, I do have a favorite part of my job. It's different. That's why I love it so much. It definitely takes different angles and routes each day. I was just telling Jess on our hike up to these cool mountain bike trails that a couple days ago I was slingshotting into trees to get pine cones down for seeds. And then I took a bunch of people kayaking yesterday, and today I'm out with you cool folks showing you some cool stuff about the parks. Excuse me. So I love my job because of how different it is. It's always something new and exciting, and I never exactly know what I'm going to be doing that day, and it always takes a weird route to get there anyway. So it's engaging. It's super fun every time.
Very cool. Very cool. If anybody has any questions for Caitlin, now is a good time to ask. We will post this video on our Facebook page like we always do, and if you have questions later on, that's okay too. You can always type them in, and we can go around later and answer your questions. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next week for our Facebook Live event.
Thank you very much.